I am Madelyn, and something that speaks of me is I'll say volunteerism and working to better our world, to better our community. Start there, and then we go from the community to just society in general, and then let's just kind of snowball it from there. Home is pretty much everything to me. It's the place where you go for peace. You go to settle down. It's the castle, if you will. Uh, it's necessary. It's necessary. On the other hand, there are two different homes. The home where I was born and raised, where I will eventually go back to. And then the current home, which is Longmont, Colorado, that home. And as a matter of fact, I will be renovating the homestead, our home house. It is left to me to do it, and I'm going to remodel it. It was built in 1957, and so I'm going to remodel it, and eventually that's where I'll end up. And that's where my parents, the property that was purchased in 1910 now belongs to me and my siblings. And so, but the homestead is where I will be. It was purchased in 1910. I don't remember the exact date by my grandparents, Murtis Sylvester Strong and Ida Stewart Strong. And they purchased it originally, and of course, my parents, my grandparents, everybody have always been meticulous record keepers. Well, they had their receipts for showing that they had bought it. The bank at the time was trying to take it. They wanted it. They wanted it badly. So they wouldn't honor my grandparents' receipts. And so basically it didn't exist. And no, you didn't pay it. And I mean, what would they do? What could they do? So they had to buy it again. And that happened two other times. And I have, like I said, I have the receipt. I don't have the two other purchases, but ultimately the one that declared them as owners of the property, where I guess they finally gave up, realizing that they were not going to give in, and they were not going to give up the property, and so ultimately they had to honor it. But it was the third time around. Oh, it was horrible. First of all, it was, I think, $610. Well, back in 1910, that was a lot of money. And to end up having to do it three times uh, was uh, unthinkable. They managed to do it, and because they've always been resourceful and honorable and faith based, God fearing, God believing, and they did what was necessary to make sure that they maintained ownership of that property. Many African Americans, black people, particularly then, did not own. They rented. They had to sharecrop, is what it was called, and what it's still called. And that's where people live on the land, and basically uh, they work the crops and work all of that, and essentially um, they receive the ability to stay there. And does it balance out? No, no, not by far. My family have always been owners, and I'm very grateful for that to this day. I'm very grateful that that's what was planted, and those were the seeds that were planted. The immediate homestead sits on 40 acres, and so um, to have that be the stomping ground for me, and to just think it was also the stomping ground for my parents. What was my granddaddy's stomping ground was my dad's stomping ground, and my mine and my siblings' stomping ground, and my children's. So all of those generations have graced that property, and now my nephew, my youngest brother's son, is now his family. They're in the house now, and his children actually are going to the same elementary school that we all attended. My grandfather was the headmaster of, I think that's what we would reference it, or what they called it back then. What we now know as principal. He was known as Professor Strong, Professor Murder Strong. Yeah, and so now my nephew's children, my great niece and nephew, and they live on the property now. They're in the property now. I said I will ultimately regain ownership of it. That's they're going to build. So I know who my neighbors will be. They're building right behind the home house. Education was considered the way out. It was the source of that will get you delivered. uh, it's a way out. And like I said, my grandfather graduated college. And so to think in any way, at any level, any generation, that you're not going to college is just unheard of. it's uh it's the source for deliverance. Uh, there are different kinds of deliverances, of course, but deliverance economically and on every level. Education is the core. I think it's crucial that what we it's important that we maintain integrity, respect, character, and everything else that education serves as the foundation for. And it's so crucial that we continue that generationally. And so yeah, in the Strong family, oh, it's not a question. After school, they had choir practice after at the end of the school day, and Mr. Span noticed something in me in terms of my singing ability. And at that time, I was 9, and he would let me come and practice with the choir. And I actually got an opportunity to lead as a soloist at 9. And that was the start for me. That was the start. So, yes, as a matter of fact, I have a picture of the high school choir that I'm in, and it brings back memories every time I look at it. Matter of fact, I got it framed and in my house now. So it was incredible. It was eye opening. It was something I didn't know. I had no idea of ultimate looking back now. I had no idea of what it would mean in terms of my life and that aspect of my life. The fact that I ended up singing with legends like James Cleveland is a legend that among the gospel music arena, um, I mean, you say that name and everyone knows. He recorded with Aretha Franklin, and so he was one of my mentors. Actually, sung in one of his choirs. Uh, Dr. Mattie Moss Clark. You've heard of the Clark sisters, their mother. I actually sung with them, with her, under her leadership, rather. So to not even have an idea of what he was doing for me at that time, and then to look back and see how it evolved, to have had the honor of being mentored by people like that. And then at the time when I was 9, I didn't know. It was just something I was doing, and I liked doing it a lot. Um, that's when I realized that that was what I wanted to do. That would be one aspect of my life in terms of what I would want to do. It reinforced, it gave me reinforcement, the type of reinforcement that builds confidence, character, uh, and many other things that music and getting in and learning the craft and then going on and professionally doing it. Yeah, it's this feeling that's hard to describe, but I can tell you this: it's one I love. To this day, there's nothing like singing and actually getting up and performing. And of course, at church, it's a whole different level. It's a level of praise, and that's a different kind of presentation than, say, performing. I actually do train, do vocal training, and I love to get them at the youngest. They can talk. I can teach them how to sing. And I try to instill the theory behind the music as I'm teaching. But of course, if I'm dealing with someone that's 3 years old, they don't care much about theory. They just want to sing or they just want to play, and that's a different thing. I can remember being in a meeting, an all management meeting, um, and we were going around the room. The senior vice president, is who I reported to at the time, wanted to go around the room and just test the air to make sure all of the staff members, everybody was happy with where they were career wise. And when they got to me, I said, I'm happy where I am, as a division head, um, and responsible for the things that I'm responsible for and that I do, worldwide responsibilities. However, my dream is to sing and to get back on stage. So am I happy from that aspect? No. Am I happy from where I am in terms of the job? Yes, very much so. So it's also right. And so I usually keep a pad and pen because the best time for that creativity for me is in the morning. So I keep a pad and I get thoughts and I immediately jot them down because otherwise I will forget. I live by it every day. Um, I can be busy doing something else and just not feeling all the best. It can be a struggle. One of those kinds of days. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. You can be having such a challenging day, and I can go and my daughter gave me a Bluetooth a few years back, and I will put that on, and it'll change the entire atmosphere. It can change everything. It can make what was bad good. Uh, that's what it means to, and that's what it does for me. Music, yes, yes. And you know what? I encourage people that if you don't know it, if you don't put on your favorite song. If you're having a challenging day, if you're having a rough time, whatever your favorite song may be, put it on and turn it up loud. They pump up the volume, pump up the volume, and you'll see what a difference it can make. It can make a difference, yes.